In this video, I want to help you answer one of the hardest questions we face as music producers. Is my song finished? It's a pretty open-ended question. However, I want to go through a checklist of 6 different things, 6 measurables that we need to have in our track before we can call it complete. First up is check for change. Make sure you have something new happening at least every 8 bars. This can mean you're bringing elements in, taking elements away, but as listeners, we expect change in a song and arrangement, and we love it. Without it, the track can feel stale. Now, the other way you could think about change is how are your individual sounds also changing over time and evolving? Think automation, filters opening and closing, effects swelling on and off, volumes coming in and out. These changes can be subtle or obvious, but they're necessary. Next up is the very important mute trick. What you're going to do is start top to bottom in your project and begin muting elements one at a time and seeing if you notice the difference when it comes in and out of the mix. Every sound should have a purpose in your track. If you're taking a sound in and out by muting it, bringing it back, muting it, bringing it back, and you don't hear a difference, then that sound isn't serving a purpose. Get rid of it, leave it muted, and this will create more space for the important sounds that we do hear. Let's move on to number 3, which is going to be the subscribe check. Now, this is where I go and check your account to see if you're subscribed to Cosmic Academy. Probably the most important step in finishing a song, so do it. For real, number 3 is going to be our level check, and this is where we're going to start to compare our song to other reference tracks just to make sure we have our general balance correct. Now, you don't want to sound exactly like another song. It's just not realistic. But you want to fit in with a listener's expectation of what a mix should be. So what you could do here is use your ears, flip between your mix, reference tracks, your mix, reference tracks. Is the general balance the same? Can you hear certain elements as clear as the others? Does your track sound as bright as theirs, as full as theirs? Does your kick punch through as clean? One other thing you can do is use your eyes with a spectrum analyzer. Compare your song's frequencies to a reference song. However, just because your spectrum looks like another song doesn't mean anything. You can make a spectrum look good and the song can sound like shit. So make sure it looks good and sounds good. That is what's important. As we move on to number 4, it's going to be the system reference. This is where you want to listen to your song on as many different devices as possible. But keep this in mind, it's not going to sound perfect on every device. And that's okay. If you're making a song for the club, I don't think it should translate exactly the same on an iPhone speaker, right? But here's a couple ways that you can hopefully improve that translation from device to device. First up, a cool way to do this is on the master channel, always keep a utility plugin with a mono button. This allows you to reference your master channel in mono versus stereo, to always make sure your important elements still show up in the mono mix. This will be great for Bluetooth speakers, some club systems, but anything that is mono, you still want to make sure your main elements translate how you want them to translate. The other thing you can have is an EQ that sits on your master, and what you're going to do is cut the low end out. It could be 100, 200, 300. Basically, what you're trying to do is simulate a really shitty speaker. Now, if you were to take out the low end in your track, does your bass line still translate? For a lot of songs, we need it to. And in order to pass this test, you have to have enough low, mid, and mid-range frequencies coming from the bass line. This might mean layers in your production or saturation on a low-end sublayer, but regardless, we typically want our bass line to translate a little bit into those low mids and mids. The final thing I'll add is producing in a treated room or having headphones that are as flat as possible. This can help you translate on a lot of different devices. There are some cool headphone calibration softwares like Sound ID Reference that will basically try and make your headphones as flat as possible. This should translate well if you go to car, laptop, and all those other devices we typically listen on. For the 5th box you will need to check off, it's going to be feedback from a trusted source. You've probably been going at this song alone now for quite some time. Get fresh perspective on it. Have someone who you can trust listen to it and give you critical, constructive feedback. This is one of the best things we have set up within the Cosmic Academy community, where the students can show up 3 times a week to a live feedback, and it's no bullshit where I'm just sitting up there on top of the throne giving feedback to everyone. Hell no, that doesn't help. They're giving feedback to each other. So imagine 20 people, 30 people in a room all listening to each other's stuff simultaneously, marking it up with comments, trying to get the best possible version of that song, that's a massive advantage that they have. And if you can have something like that yourself too, I highly recommend it. Feedback is always going to be a great opportunity to pick up on the things you've missed. And I would imagine the higher quality feedback you can get, the better it would be for your song. Now, the sixth and final box you need to check off before you can call your song complete, and this is the most important one: take a break. At this point, you have listened to your song a million times. It's okay to step away for a couple days. Go start your next song, being that you're almost done with this one. But when you come back with a fresh perspective, you're probably going to find things that you missed the first time around, or you're going to sit there and confirm everything you did and say, hey, I think this is done. This sounds pretty good. Either way, though, it's the fresh perspective that you're looking for so you can accurately decide, do I need to keep working on this thing or am I finished? So before you call your next song complete, make sure you check for change, you do the mute trick, you subscribe to Cosmic Academy, and do the level check. You do a system reference, you get some feedback, and you take a break. If you have all 6 boxes checked, I'd say you're probably done. On to the next one. And for me, I'm on to the next one as well because I got nothing left in this video. So I'll see you in the next tutorial. Until then, be good, keep finishing music. See ya.